Hey, what's up? It's OPB here, coming at you with a quick video. Just answering a question from a viewer. 15 hearts, if you're watching. I commented on your post. Stay tuned, and I was gonna do a video on that today. 15 hearts asked, when do I think it'll all start? On my World War III update video. That's honestly, I think I have kind of like two timelines. I think starting off initially, I think we're going to be going with the 10 to 20 day heightened action by Russia, not necessarily popping off of World War III. I think that you'll see within 6 months to maybe 2 years. Short answer. Definitely watch out within the next 10 to 20 days. I think you're going to see a lot more heavy proxy fighting on the borders, or on the ceasefire line with the pro-Russian and the pro-Ukrainian proxy groups there. Vice actually did in my opinion, a good documentary on that, on the pro-Ukrainian side of that. So I'd recommend watching that. It was a decent bit of information. In terms of long term, when do I think everything's gonna go sideways, World War III wise? Definitely 6 months to 2 years. For sure not until the Winter Olympics is over. That's what I foresee happening. Now, I think, playing devil's advocate, personally, with what I've kind of wargamed out of my head, what I'd be doing if I was the so-called Axis powers, is I would do a three-prong assault. I'll start with the Russians. The Russians, I would say, would push into Ukraine, storm it, take Kiev, and that's that. Might even leave Kiev alone, kind of encircle it, starve them out, force them to surrender the rest of the country, kind of thing. Other than that, I think China, at the same time, if I was them, I would try to force my way towards Taiwan, using North Korea as a diversion. Using North Korea as a diversion to push into South Korea, to kind of tie the South Koreans up, use them as cannon fodder, essentially. Not the strongest military, but still, a bullet from a 12-year-old is the same as a bullet from a 20-year-old, right? So that's the kind of theory I think we're going to have to look at moving forwards. The Russians during the Second World War were famous for the conscript army. If you've seen Enemy at the Gates, the one with the rifle shoots, the one with the bullets follows, that kind of thing. I think, unfortunately, that's going to come back. Russian prisons are not exactly the most just system, and one could argue that no prisons are just. But we're not going to go down that rabbit hole too much. So I foresee them using prisoners as conscripts, kind of one-man wave assaults. If they die, they die, right? That's what I foresee happening with Russia. Again, China, as I said, playing as the Axis forces here in this game of Monopoly. I believe that if I were them, I would push, again, as the Russians are taking the Ukraine. I being China now, I would push and take Taiwan, using North Korea to kind of buffer my flank and try to tie up South Korea as long as I could. That way I'd really honestly only have to deal with Japan and Australia. You might see a couple other smaller nations stand up and kind of try to do their part, which every little bit in that instance would help, or get in the way depending how badly trained they are, right? That being said, I did say that there would be a third prong. Now, the media is focusing a lot on Russia and China, okay? That's what's concerning me. It's what they're not saying. Now, all of us on here know we can't really trust media, but anyways, or at least I hope you do by now. That being said, the third prong is the sleeping giant. Now, people say they're not as coordinated as this, but you gotta remember, never underestimate your opponent, okay? Appear weak when you are strong. Sun Tzu. Ring a bell? Anyways, without further delay, that third party I'm concerned about is Iran. As that third prong, being the Iranian military, the IRGC could shut down the Strait of Hormuz, right? Shut that down, that's it. That's game over for that area, especially if they're able to hold it. At the same time, I think that Iran would push into Iraq to kind of position themselves to deal with NATO and Israel. Push in Iraq, push down into Kuwait, and push down the coastline of Saudi Arabia, and cut off the UAE, maybe even invade the UAE altogether. That would completely give them three coastlines almost on the strait that they can now defend from, right? Shore launch cruise missiles, anti-ship missiles, surface-to-air missiles. We essentially completely bottleneck it and shut it off. Especially if they were to sink a couple of freighters in that strait, right? It's useless. That's what I foresee that prong being. And I think that will have a huge impact, right? On where the outcomes of World War III would go. Okay, 'cause they do get a lot of oil and stuff from there. Now, Canada has enough oil, so does Venezuela, to supply everybody. The only problem is we got to refine it. And because of OPEC, we can't refine it here. So what we're doing is we're piping it down to Texas and then buying it back at twice the price. Which, in my opinion, is stupid. But we can thank the Prime Minister's dad for that bullshit. Okay? Without going off too much of that tangent, that's what I foresee going to happen. So, 15 hearts. If you're still watching this, thanks for the comment. If the rest of you would like to leave a comment down below, if you have any further questions on what I think is going to happen, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm sorry if I don't get to all of them. If there's a splurge of questions being asked in the comments, I might miss a couple. So if I miss your comment, I apologize. Just comment it on the next one and I'll try to get to it. If I miss it again, all caps, do the yelly things in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Sorry guys, can't talk today. OPB, out.